has intimated, the HomePod price isn't a cheap speaker. The price is a weighty $349, £319, 499 Australian dollars, and the speaker began shipping on February 9 in selected territories. That makes it one of the most expensive smart speakers on the market, and certainly the most expensive mainstream option, but Apple is hoping to justify that price by embedding Siri inside and offering premium quality audio. Setup. By far the easiest smart speaker to set up. Capable of reading own surroundings. The Apple HomePod is so, well, Apple in the way you will use it. As with the AirPods, simply hold your phone near the unit and your handset will send over your Apple ID and Apple Music preferences, and fill in all the long-winded Wi-Fi passwords that you're proud you remember but thankfully don't have to type in. The setup process was only delayed for us by the fact that we needed to upgrade to iOS 11.2.5 on our iPhone, which is a prerequisite for making the speaker work. That highlights one key thing about the HomePod: you'll need to have an iPhone or iPad to set it up in the first place. It's hard to see why you'd buy this speaker without owning one of those already, but it trims the target audience down right from the outset. However, the setup process does highlight one of the nice features of the HomePod: the glowing light on the top, which turns into the multicolored Siri logo when you're issuing commands to it later on. The whole process is so swift though, compared to the long-winded setup process for the Amazon Echo or Sonos One, and you'll be so glad that you don't have to spend a minute wafting your iPhone around the room to calibrate the sound levels. Add to that further such conveniences in day-to-day use. If you need to use a new Wi-Fi network that's already set up on your phone, you just literally hold the phone nearby and it's done. And you can see how Apple has smashed the competition when it comes to ease of use, one of its real hallmarks. The HomePod will actually just work out where it is within the room simply by playing some music. It will assess its physical surroundings by hearing how the sound it emits bounces around, and if there's a wall behind it will send certain sections of what you're listening to that way, while the main vocals or instruments will fire forwards. If it's not adjacent to a wall, then the HomePod will chuck the sound out in a 360-degree space, although in most cases we'd imagine people would use the speaker up against the wall. After that's all set up, you can leave the house with your iPhone and your family or housemates will still be able to use the speaker, although you can turn off personal requests based on your information if you don't want other people meddling with your business. Thankfully you can also stop requests to the speaker messing with your music listening history. If you're trying to build decent automated playlists on Apple Music, your housemates playing Justin Bieber and Mona on repeat won't ruin everything. Design. If you're thinking of picking up a HomePod, you may want to go with both hands to start with. That's because this speaker is incredibly dense, packing 2.5 kilograms of weight into its 172mm, 6.8-inch, high frame. It feels a good deal heavier than it looks, and that is because there are so many speakers in there. We're talking a woofer and 7 tweeters, each with its own amplifier, and 6 microphones spread around to help pick up your voice when you're hailing Siri. And once its placement is locked in, you'll need to answer one more question: how are you going to run the power lead that comes out the back? It's the only wire on this device, and the only thing that resembles a port too. There's no other physical connectivity on offer, which sadly means no aux port for connecting up a record player or other device. In terms of processing, the HomePod is equipped with Apple's A8 chip, created to be used in the iPhone 6 from 2015. That may sound a little old, but given that it was designed to power a whole smartphone, it's actually quite a lot of power for only a speaker, even one that's sending and receiving commands to and from the cloud on a regular basis. Audio performance. The audio quality of the Apple HomePod is, to put it simply, premium. It fills a room easily, with clear separation between all elements of music tracks. It's certainly at its best when placed against the wall, pulling apart the sounds well, with elements such as voices coming through with incredible breadth. We're probably all used to hearing music of various quality throughout our day, from poor quality headphones to whatever speakers our TV has, so using the HomePod will expose a lot of people who aren't audiophiles to new subtleties in music which they may not have heard before. The bass, in particular, is strong, but like most sounds emanating from the speaker, the audio is stable, with sharp notes clipping very well. Listening to electronica, in particular, offered a lot of clarity, while bass guitar sounds brought a slight reverberation to the sound. Those with an untrained ear in particular will be blown away. The HomePod is loud too, with Siri asking if you definitely want to do that when you ask the speaker to play at full volume. And if there are any sound effects on a track, be it water splashing, rain or full vinyl sound, the crispness again is amazing. In fact, the audio quality is so good that the biggest criticism we can level at the audio capabilities of the speaker is how you interact with it. Saying "Hey Siri" over and over to achieve anything irks, and if you're in a room with multiple people talking you will need others to shush, otherwise their words are easily picked up, leading to random songs being played. Siri and the smart home. The Apple HomePod isn't just a speaker, despite the company telling the world that this is a music-first proposition. The feature that's going to see you using this thing regularly is the Hey Siri functionality that's baked in, meaning that you're able to speak to the HomePod to ask all manner of things. In fact, this speaker is designed to not really be touched, with interactions ideally done by voice. With that in mind, it's a good thing that the voice recognition accuracy is incredible. Even if you're lying with your back turned to the speaker, or in another room, saying, not shouting, "Hey Siri, turn up the volume" will be recognized nearly every time. Even through loud music your voice can be picked up, which seems impossible and shows that those 6 microphones are really doing their job. As we've said, though, you'll soon tire of having to say "Hey Siri" over and over again, especially when skipping through tracks. Also, if you've got any other Apple device in the room that will light up in anticipation too, before realizing that it's not wanted and slinking away. That's not a major issue, but it's not going to help your iPhone battery, for instance. Siri does speak very normally though, answering your commands and questions naturally. In fact, the way you can speak to the HomePod is awesome, with natural language recognized in every situation. For instance, when the alarm is going you can say "Hey Siri, thanks," and he will respond with "I live to serve," which is a nice touch. HomeKit. Siri's capability isn't just to respond to your words, it's also the conduit to controlling your smart home. That begins within the speaker, and as an alarm clock the HomePod also needs some work, as it's only got the single tone to rouse you with, and you can task Siri to play the news instead. You can ask it to play the news when you wake, and after a while it will save your preferred station too. There are some kinks here. When we first asked for sports news it started playing just that, but from the day before. Sure, these are mostly just little kinks in the system, but for the money we'd expect the experience to be flawless from the off. Final verdict. Once again, we come to the familiar question with Apple: is it worth spending your money on this product? Or are you better off doing so on one that's cheaper and does a lot of the same things, albeit without, perhaps, the same level of polish? The Apple HomePod is a great speaker. It delivers rich, clear sound that will impress anyone who listens to it, and every facet of the way it's designed and delivers audio has been well thought through. There are other speakers that can do more, basically anything that has Alexa inside, as there are more smart home-enabled devices that are compatible with Amazon standard, and there are cheaper speakers that still sound pretty good. However, the HomePod sounds brilliant and offers some smart Siri functionality. As long as you're deeply embedded in the Apple ecosystem. The question we kept asking ourselves, then, is, would we rather have one HomePod, with superior sounds, 2 Sonos 1 speakers with good sound plus Alexa, Spotify, and Google Assistant at some point too, or 5 Amazon Echo devices, offering poorer audio quality but a fully integrated smart home experience? It's It's a tough one, and it depends on how much you want a speaker that seamlessly fits into your Apple life. If you've got a MacBook, iPhone, Apple Watch, iPad and Apple TV, and still have any money left at the end of that spending spree, then you'll find the HomePod is a nice addition to your life. But there are still a few little bumps in there that remove some of the gloss: Siri not being able to search the web, a lack of Bluetooth streaming, or being able to control your Apple TV or iPhone directly from the speaker are omissions that many would like to have. In effect, the HomePod feels very beta. We want Siri to be far more capable. A HomePod App Store would be a really useful addition, and for the stereo capabilities to be present ASAP, it'll be interesting to re-review the speaker when these features emerge, and whether other functions find their way inside. If you only want a great-sounding smart speaker and aren't fussed about the exclusive aspects of Siri's functionality, then you'll enjoy the HomePod a lot. But if you're a little thriftier, and aren't exclusively wedded to Apple products, then it's worth holding off and seeing how the smart speaker market shakes out before making a purchasing decision.